All right, let's get back to the video. Let's start the test drive. I'm not gonna try to be on here for too long because I know you guys are probably watching this the night before you guys are looking at a car. But I'm trying to make it as descriptive as possible so you guys don't get messed over or get scammed or anything like that. So feel the gears, feel them out. So I'm putting first. Now, if this is a manual car, you want to make sure that you're listening to any noises with the clutch in. Like me right now, I'm listening to a sound from underneath the car. That usually tells you, maybe it's still there. I sort of hear it. That usually gives you signs that the throttle bearing is wearing out, or there's not enough lubrication if the clutch has been done recently. But I don't really matter for that too much. But just keep that in mind. It's not something super serious, and it's not something great awesome either. So just keep that in mind. Now, on the parking lot that you're buying the car at, if you're not at a hill obviously, you want to let go of the clutch slowly and see where the biting point is at. So for me, my biting point is right in between the floor and up. That's perfect. That tells you that the clutch is average. If your clutch is catching way too low, that tells you that the clutch is wearing out. If the clutch is catching a little higher than what you're used to, then that means that, I'm probably getting it wrong, but that usually tells you that the clutch is basically close to new, or the other way around. I think it's the other way around. So if it catches close to the floor, that means that the clutch is basically close to new. If it catches up too high, that means you need to replace the clutch. Because when you press the clutch in, that means that you're releasing. No, that means that you're releasing, yes. So you're off the clutch. You're on the clutch once you start letting go of it. You start, so if I'm lifting up my knee right now, you're doing this basically. And then you're connecting both. But if I'm pressing it in, it's going like that. If I'm pressing back, it's going like this, and it's mating with the car, and then it's becoming one. That's the best way to kind of explain it. So if the clutch release is close to the floor, that means it's a new clutch. If it's too high, that means that it probably needs to be replaced soon. So let's go on a test drive. Keep in mind, if it's a sports car, it might feel a little heavy, and you might want to ask questions of what stage clutch it has, because that's what most people do nowadays, is add stages to their clutches. So you want to drive it around, hear for any noises, shift into gears, and really get a feeling for the car. Hear any noises. If the lifter tick gets louder, that's perfectly fine. That's your lifter tick. But if you hear any type of deep like knocks, like almost like a that tells you that there's engine problems. Ticks, like a regular that's perfectly fine. Use your brakes. Make sure your brakes are working well. Just make sure everything is working out like it's supposed to be. My brakes are fine. My brakes feel fine. Pay attention to how that pedal catches. For the brakes, obviously. Go to stop sign, clutch in, neutral. The bumpy roads is gonna be fine. You want to hear for the suspension too. If you hear any bottom or like any loud clangs or bangs, then you probably have something going on with your suspension. I have eBay suspension, so you're gonna hear bangs and clangs no matter what, because it's cheap suspension. Other things you have to look around too for is see how the car feels overall with the tires that you're riding on. If they're cheap Chinese tires, then it's gonna ride like shit. But I'm going very slow because I'm paying attention to those noises. I'm not driving it fast when I'm going for my test drive around town. I'm just hitting as much potholes as I can, and I am swerving left and right around the roads to make sure I don't hear any, you know what I mean? Because those sounds usually tell you that there's something going on with the sway bar or the sway bar links. Do you want to hear for any ball joint sounds? Ball joint sounds, you'll feel the wheel, again, making a bang sound. You want to hear for any clicking when you turn the wheel. Again, that's what my test drive is. Downshift it if you can. If you know how to do that, absolutely do that if you want to. You're basically just driving it like if you were trying out the car and beating the heck out of it, basically. But don't beat the heck out of it in a disrespectful manner. Obviously, do it in a way where it's respectful, which you can. I've gotten in test drives, beat the heck out of a car where it's to a point where it's respectful. But you know, you're just listening for noises for the most part. I don't hear anything. I don't hear any clacking when I turn the wheel. So what I'm gonna do now is keep on driving around and hop on the highway and see how it feels when I take it on the highway. And you want to engage VTEC. That's the key point with these K series, is you want to engage VTEC or any other car that has the that has the lift engagement. As soon as we get to that point, I will do that and hop on the highway and get boogie jigging. But for the most part, you're just listening for any noises, any bangs, how it feels, how it steers, you know, because that's super, super important. Like now, I hear the clutch engage, and I hear coming from the transmission when I press the clutch, and so that tells you that there's something going on with the throttle bearing. If the clutch feels spongy or it feels weird when you press the clutch pedal in as you drive it, then you probably have to bleed the system and clean out that fluid. That's why I told you guys to investigate the fluid and see how it looks. Alright, so if the car feels fine, feel free to take it on the highway and do your drive it like you stole it idea and move on from there. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Hopefully this one does not tip over in the middle of that pole. But you have to lie, I'm probably like 2 minutes away from the highway, so shouldn't be an issue. And if the car is lowered, be careful how you drive the car too, because you don't want to damage somebody else's property if you're buying a sports car and it's lowered. Just take extra good care of it as you're test driving it. Some people don't prefer you drive the car unless you have cash in hand, and that's perfectly fine, because some people prefer that, and that's perfectly okay, and that's respectful enough, because you don't want to break somebody else's car with no money in hand. It's kind of a little bit rude. But for the most part, if you're just buying a regular car, then this is perfect for those people that are driving a regular car. I'm gonna have to stuff something behind that phone. I'm trying to keep it as straight as possible. I don't hear anything. Usually at this point too, if you realize this car is fine, turn up the music. Make sure the navigation works. Make sure the radio works if you like the radio. I don't, so make sure the Bluetooth connects. Just make sure the car is fine overall before you do this, okay? I'm gonna make sure no one's behind me. I'm gonna prepare this for the video, because I don't want this phone tipping over again. So here we are, we're hopping on the highway. The car's warmed up obviously at this point. Do not beat on the car if it has not warmed up to the fullest. Do not do that, you will ruin the car. Make sure your car is warmed up before doing this. There's something obviously in front of me, so I'm gonna take my time. Any noises really, make sure your coolant's in good condition is a really good thing too. And then you don't have any crazy leaks. And again, keeping the number one key thing about keeping a car healthy is make sure you're doing your maintenance on time too. So, give it a little sauce. As you can tell, the car's perfectly fine. It's shifting, it's doing what it's supposed to do. That's what you want. And my car is shifting perfectly fine. As you can tell, Do not do that. Absolutely do not do that. Do not downshift and over rev your motor. As soon as you do that and you realize that, fix it. And that's exactly what I did, because you will blow up the engines. As soon as you realize the mistake, best key point for you guys, and I've saved my motor like that, is as soon as you realize that over revving, clutch in, do not let go of it fully, and fix it, put it back to the air where it's supposed to be. So as you can tell, I'm taking on the highway right now. I don't hear any weird noises. I'm taking at a decent amount of speed. Usually I would try to take it around maybe like 70, 75, 80. Take it up as high as you can. Obviously pay attention to the cops around you in the environment that you're in, because you will get pulled over and get a ticket. Just be responsible, you know. I'm doing 80 right now. The car sounds perfectly fine, so I can rule out the fact that this car is actually perfectly fine and it runs fine too. And it's not going to be giving me any issues anytime soon. So now what you want to do is get off the highway. If you want to negotiate pricing with the person on the road and you think the car is perfectly fine, you can absolutely do that. Or if you want to pull over and negotiate prices with the person, that's perfectly fine too. Just make sure you take the car back to the location where you got it from and negotiate price there. I think at this point what I would personally do is, if I'm happy with the car and everything rolls out and it's perfectly fine, then I would generally at this point start thinking about what price am I going to give them. So far to put this video together, it shifts fine. I heard a little bit of noise on the throttle bearing, and what's another thing? The headlight was broken, the bracket was broken, and there was an exhaust rat, I think there was too, and what else was there? The brakes, I think I mentioned the brakes were a little bit low in the back, I think, at the video. If I didn't, then see, so this grinds first gear as soon as I put it back into first gear. And I knew that. And I should have brought up that fact. This is why you want to always want to start thinking what your next move is. So at this point, again, I would start negotiating pricing the cracked windshield. So right there, if I was to negotiate a price, I have to replace the windshield. That's gonna go through insurance, so that's free. Maybe I might have to pay out of pocket, so it's $200. Headlights $100. The bracket's $50. Let's say at that. Super expensive. You kind of have to like over exaggerate what the price is gonna be, especially if you're not fixing it and you don't know much about cars. So the headlight. So let's say $1,000. Let's say $1,000, then $500, because you're not doing the work yourself. If you are, then $500 is a good number. If you're not, then $1,000. $1,000 is perfect for all that, including your own parts. So if he's selling it for $6,000, let's say the owner says $7,000, then you always want to negotiate a price that's a little bit lowballish, because you never want to give your offer first, your offer that you want first. You always want to lowball it first, and then you want to meet up at the middle. That's how you negotiate a car. That's a quick trick for you guys. If they tell you to F off, then negotiate closer towards your actual price. And just talk it out. You know, negotiating is about talking it out and getting familiar with them and the car. If you really, really like it. If you don't, then just pass on it. At this point, also, you can make a decision of whether you want to pass on it. If you decide to pass on it, then drive the car back and say, listen, I'm not truly interested in this car because it seems like it has too much problems, and I'm not willing to pay that price that you're asking for. If they negotiate the cost lower and you're willing to put in the work to fix the car to get to the break-even point, meaning that if you wanted pay $6,000 for the car and they ask you $4,000, then you have $2,000 worth of work that you can put in yourself to break even at $6,000 to have a good working car. Then you can do that. But this is mostly for beginners, so you want to get to the point where it's a good middle ground for both of you guys and just talk it out. Never agree to the price that they want for the car ever. If you're trying to negotiate the price, usually you want to offer a little bit lower or try to get to your asking price. If you want to give them asking price that they're asking for, then that's perfectly fine. But I usually like negotiating a little bit because it saves me money for registration and insurance, because you're gonna have to register and insurance it and then go through emissions. So think about those things when you're buying this car. Another fun fact too is realize that the test drive isn't a rule it all, give it all for the car. Realize that there's going to be other hidden issues, but it gives you a good rough idea on what to do, what the car speaks for itself for, and the best things about the car too. Don't get me wrong, all used cars aren't that bad, but some used cars I've bought in were really, really shitty. And I will make this example again with somebody else's car too. I'm going to show you actually a really, really good example with my girlfriend's car. I'll make a video on that one. But we used my Civic because it needs a little bit of work. So I'm keeping those thoughts in mind. I hope you guys really, really enjoy this video. I try my best to make these videos and entertain you guys, and I just hope it helps you out with making your decision on buying a car. Catch me on the other side. I love you guys, like I always say, and stay positive, stay encouraged, and realize that if this is your first car, oh, you're gonna have a great time. You're gonna have an awesome time buying cars, because if you like classics, if you like SIs, K-Series, you know, 4G63 Eclipses, then this could probably help you out, because I've given you guys a couple keynotes too that would most probably help. And this is just the beginning of it if you're a teenager. As soon as you get into working on cars and doing your own stuff, realize that that it's fun. It's fun when you're getting to these sports cars and you know what to touch and what to do. But as a starting out point, it's a little bit difficult, and it can be a little bit challenging trying not to get messed up on a deal. So what I always do before I look at any car is to stay positive. Realize that you'll get through it if you're getting fucked over on a deal, and that you'll be happy that you did what you did, and that it's not all sunshines and rainbows, and sometimes it's not all rainy days when it comes to buying used sports cars. So stay like that, stay blessed. I'm gonna pause the video right now. I wish you luck on your next deal on the car, and I hope it works really, really well for you guys. Love you guys. Peace out.